Hello everybody, and welcome to Taiwan Talk, a show where we explore news and topics from here in Taiwan. I'm today's host, Trevor Tortomasi, and for this episode I'm speaking with Eddy Gonzalez, a podcaster and owner of the restaurant Eddy's Cantina here in Taiwan.
So my name is Eddy Gonzalez. Everyone calls me Eddy. I've been in Taiwan for about 20 years, and I have a restaurant. The restaurant started about 15 years ago, and about 2 years ago I started a podcast, something that I wanted to do for a while, and when I shrunk down from 2 restaurants to 1. I said, I'm going to take this one day, a slow day in a restaurant, and I'm going to take a little chunk of the restaurant, and I'm going to just do a live podcast in the restaurant.
So you've been a restaurateur since...
It's been about 15 years, man. So the original story was my wife and I got married, and I was coaching soccer, which I loved. I was teaching kindergarten, which I loved, and she wasn't very happy with her job at the moment. So I said, what do you want to do? She said, I'd like to open a coffee shop. I do like coffee, but I'm not a coffee connoisseur. My family is from Mexico. I was born in Canada. We cook a lot with my mom at home, and my wife liked the food. And I said, well, we can try this. And so we did. We tried that. We tried the Mexican food, yeah.
15 years.
15 years. We started in a night market in Danshui.
Oh, man.
That was a hustle. That was tough, yeah.
So when I first went to your restaurant, Eddy's Cantina if it was 9 years ago that it closed, then it must have been about 10 years ago. Was that the night market area, or is that...
Do you know the Danshui area a little bit? If you go to the old street, like when you come right off the MRT, there's that sort of busy night market on the left side there. We were in there. We did that for 1 year, and then we moved over to the location that most people know, which was kind of up the road on a little sort of a starey little hill thing, and that was the cantina. That was the first cantina. But in the night market, we called it Eddy Burrito.
That's awesome. So how did that transition into the show?
Okay, so the show, one of the best things is meeting the people. Well, you know, when people come in to the restaurant, you get to meet students, you get to meet actors and actresses and musicians and entrepreneurs, and people come to eat, right? So everybody comes and they're telling me their stories, and I like to chat with people, and I find a lot of the times where people tell me these stories and I hear these stories and I'm like, man, you need to share this story, or somebody needs to share this story because it's a great one. And so I found out that, you know, I've been a big podcast fan of some of the big podcasts. I would love to do something like that. When I had 2 restaurants, I just couldn't. But when I had 1, I said, you know what, I'm going to take one of the slow days of the week and I'm going to do it. And so at the very beginning, it was tough to find people. But I said, I'm going to do it for a couple years, once a week. Yeah, it's been pretty good. I mean, it's growing. It's tougher to grow than I thought, but it's been great and I love it. And sharing the stories of the people that you meet is pretty cool.
In Taiwan, a lot of the people I've talked to that have started shows, you can look at their first episode and it's dated like in the middle of the pandemic. Okay. A lot of people have sprung out of the ground like daisies
sure. Yeah.
With the pandemic, and I think that's amazing.
I think so too.
You started before and you rode through it. How has that been?
So we do it live in the restaurant, and we do it with food. We do it with spicy wings, and we have like horchata, and we have a pretty good. The spicy wings are so that we can get kind of a funny clip out of it, which is pretty cool. But going through the pandemic with the no dine-in thing, it was tough, and I thought, should I stop? What should I do? We started with Zoom, and then I tried a couple of different softwares, and it's been pretty good, man. I love it. We just figured just learn another software and just keep going. Yeah, so that's what I did.
What is your goal as a podcast host?
Obviously I'd like the channel to grow, right? I actually do have some episodes in Mandarin. I need to do more. I think more in Mandarin, but I just really want to get some more eyes on people doing cool stuff in Taiwan. Obviously there are some big channels and some big podcasts out there. I've been on a few other podcasts and stuff like that. And I just think if everyone works together, I think we can really grow, get the eyes on Taiwan, because Taiwan's a great place and I've been here for a long time. And I think that the world doesn't really know how cool it is and all the cool stuff that's happening here. And if I can shine a little spotlight on that, then I'm doing my part for sure.
I have learned and relearned so many of my conversational habits in post-production. I'll have a chat with someone for Taiwan Talk and I'll go home to edit and I'll realize that I said something wrong or I said it like clumsily. Do you edit your own interviews, and what have you learned from that?
So I do some editing myself. I do outsource that when I can because with the restaurant it's really busy.
As you should. But and I wish I could.
Yeah. I mean I have a few tricks. There's a company called Catapult that just started. They do Twitter and YouTube. So what they do is they kind of record your stream. You live stream. They kind of record it. They have it on their cloud, and you log into your software, and you can kind of just like rip little clips off here, there, just 10-second clips, 2-minute clips, whatever. To be honest, the main thing is I have something called an Elgato Stream Deck. And what that does is it plugs into your computer, and it's just a little push button sort of keyboard, basically, with little LEDs on it. And that's how I switch cameras, and that's how I switch angles, and that's how I hit the intro button. Everything is just push button. And when I do it like that, I don't have to edit very much, which is awesome.
It's a lifesaver.
Editing, it's like if you're in an hour interview, it's probably going to be like 5 hours of editing, right? So
yeah,
ideally, I'd like to get it as clean as possible without having to do much editing. Yeah, the Stream Deck is amazing.
I think that does sound amazing. I think that might be the same thing that I've learned from editing, which is learn what edits you're constantly making with every interview, and then find a way to just fix that by doing the interview different.
Yeah, do the interview. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I agree 100%, because sometimes when you're like, oh, you're looking at it and you think, oh my God, I'm saying like every second word. Yeah, I think if you can get it sort of like that straight up, I think it's the best way.
I don't know how granular you get. If you're doing it live, bless you. I get a little granular sometimes, and I'll edit like swallows or things like that.
Sure.
I'll balance the noise. I try to get everything to like -3 decibels or something like that.
Okay, wow. Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
It gets, because I want a good audio experience for people, even if they're maybe like just on the verge of being interested in the topic. I want them to also like know that there's not going to be like a spike in volume or something. That really bugs me in podcasts is when someone is like talking and you turn up your volume a little bit to hear them, and then they laugh and you're like, oh, my ears. And
there's nothing worse than I think than bad audio. I think bad video, it can be forgiven, because I mean, especially during a podcast, you can throw it in your pocket and go for a walk or a run. But if the audio is sort of like ear screeching, it's tough. I think people they're gonna shy away. So yeah, I think the audio is very important. Yeah.
What have you learned from doing the live show specifically?
I found that people get more nervous doing live stuff, but for me, I find it easier. I don't know why. I mean, sometimes you make mistakes or you stutter or something. I don't know. It just seems really easy. As soon as I hit that live button, I just feel like, all right, let's go. We're good. And sometimes I need to make videos for the restaurant or for some kind of clips, and they're recorded, and I need to take like 20 takes because I don't know what it is. It's a weird role reversal for me. Live for me seems to be a lot easier. I don't know why, but recorded is tough.
If you know that you have multiple chances to get it right, you're going to want to do it right. And even I make a bunch of lame, like 10-second videos for Instagram and TikTok.
Beautiful.
They're pretty silly, but even though they're like 10 seconds long, I'll do like 10 takes for half of it and then 10 takes for another half, and I'll edit it, I'll like balance the sound and stuff and get really exact about it. But if someone says like, oh, we're going to sit down for like half an hour and just talk and it's live, I'll be like, all right, there's no editing, so I'm going to be fine. If I cough, if I mess up a word, if I have to repeat myself, that's just how it goes. And it's a lot more relaxing that way.
I found it. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing for me is like I said, I've interviewed some professional fighters, and one of Taiwan's most famous women's fighter, Jenny Huang, she fights in 1FC, which is kind of like the Asia UFC, and she's gone all the way up to fight for a title, so she's pretty amazing. She came in and she was kind of like, oh, I'm nervous, and I'm like, you fight in a cage in front of like in a stadium, and I'm like, you're nervous to have some wings with me? And she's kind of like, yeah. I'm like, well, I thought that was really cool because it makes me feel like, okay, people are taking it seriously. It's something cool. So for me, I found that pretty rewarding, and she's awesome. Yeah.
And what have you learned about yourself through all this?
I've always been sort of before I came to Taiwan, I was a really, really introverted person. I was really quiet. I was really shy. And when I came to Taiwan for the first few months, again, I was really introverted. And I found when I started to push myself sort of out of my comfort zone, things started to happen a lot more. It's probably not just me. Anyone who steps out of their comfort zone is going to improve, I think. And for me, once I started doing the interviews, I found that the conversations and stuff like that, my ability to have a conversation with people got a lot better. I think I became more comfortable, more confident in just talking to whoever. I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I think I'm doing all right. Not too bad for somebody that had zero experience, grabbed his old GoPro and the karaoke mics from, the restaurant and said, let's just do it. I think it's not bad. And I think it's gotten a lot better since then, but something that I really like. And I love meeting people and going from someone who's really, really introverted to going out and talking to people and finding people to come on and do a show and sometimes convincing people to come and do it. I think it's helped me a lot in a lot of ways, man. It's this weird thing to explain, but it's pretty cool.
What's your setup process for each interview?
So what I do is I have these two high tables at the restaurant, and sort of I'll move one into the other section, and I'll kind of make the section where people are eating a little more compact, and I'll flip one of the big tables over, and we have a backdrop there with like shelves and stuff like that. So I'll flip that over. I'll set up my camera with the big ring light. We used to have sort of big, I don't know, like these softbox lights on the sides, but people kept kicking them when they went to pay their bill. So, and then they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, that's okay, no problem. And it's like, or kicking, the camera and stuff. So you have to get creative in making it compact, but, good. So the ring light worked for that. But when someone has glasses, the ring light's really bad because it just shows up like that.
Right.
So you have to get kind of creative. We had some overhead lights. We try to make it as compact as possible. And we also have it plugged into our sort of PA system, and we turn on the rear speakers in the restaurant very low so people can kind of hear it as a background. If we turn it too high, you get the reverb. So it's like it's a long process. But so I flipped the table, I set up the drinks, and I set we set up the food. Well, the food comes like right at the end. Set up the mics, do a sound check, set the speakers up in the back, cameras. We have 2 cameras. And the first few times I just forgot stuff. I think the most important thing for me was, again, that Elgato Stream Deck where you can just pull up whatever you want. You can set it up with pictures. Like when I'm interviewing somebody, I'll sort of deep dive into their Instagram or into their Facebook, and I'll pull up maybe 10 pictures because you are live. So occasionally the conversation dies, and then I'll be like, oh, cool. So here's that. I pull up a picture and be like, well, why don't you tell me about this picture, So that kind of starts the conversation again. So you get really creative on how to keep the ball rolling when you do everything live, I think. There's people doing comments and stuff, so you can answer the comments, which is cool. And I think it's pretty cool. The process has evolved a lot, but I mean, now it's second nature.
So you have been running Eddy's Cantina for many years. It was in Danshui, and now it's in Tianmu, correct?
That's right. Yes.
So was that your first business in Taiwan?
So I actually started with a little small soccer school. I mean, me coaching a bunch of different teams privately. That was, I guess, the first one, but like the first official real business would, definitely be the restaurant. Yeah.
Okay. What brought you to Taiwan originally?
I was in Canada. I went to school to do criminology, wanted to be a police officer in Canada, RCMP, the Mountie, the whole thing. And I got all the way to the final interview, passed everything. And at the very end, I failed the final interview because I think I was 21. I was really young. They told me, you need to have more like life experience, which basically meant more bad things happen to you.
Yeah, I failed a lot of things when I was 21 too.
So I was like, bad things happen to you, and we need to see how you react to it. Like, have you ever seen anyone murdered or anything like that? I'm like, no, I mean, if something's going down, I'm out, like I'm not sticking around. So I told them, no, I haven't seen that. They said, you know what, reapply in 2 years. And I said, what should I do for the 2 years? They said, go get life experience. At the time I was coaching soccer. I just finished up my job doing soccer there. And I was thinking, I've always wanted to come to Asia. And I figured if I could learn another language, Mandarin would be great. And Japan and Korea both snowed, and I was born in Canada, and I've had enough snow. So yeah, I'm actually I'm in a small town called Kitimat, and it's close to Alaska. So
wow.
It's a really small town. It's really nice. A lot of snow in the winter. So when I saw that Japan and Korea snowed, and I said tropical little island, no snow, I could probably learn Mandarin. I think I made the right choice, man. Taiwan's a great place. I love it here.
Preaching to the choir, man.
Yeah.
How has your life changed as a restaurant owner, and how has it changed as the host, and how have they changed together?
So restaurant owner, like I said, I was more introverted. I used to hide in the kitchen more. I had my wife sort of running the front, and I'd be in the back. And you have to learn how to be a leader, I think, when you have a business, especially with a restaurant. I get more respect with the staff when I'm actually in there. And I started doing, my wife and I started everything. We do everything. And when we hire somebody, we sort of teach them. We try to have them do what we do. And it's really hard to get somebody to do it exactly right. So then you have to learn how to teach a person to cook your food in your way. But not just that, you have to learn how to teach them to teach the next person. So I think leadership is one of the skills I developed a lot. I think I had some before, but with the restaurant, it's really important. And I think if the staff doesn't respect the owners and the owners are not good people, then you're going to get a lot of turnover because, restaurant, it's tough. It's a tough gig. We make everything from scratch, which on the outside, everybody thinks is fantastic, which it is. But it's super duper labor intensive. So yeah, I mean, we have a really solid team, which is great. Probably the best team we've had ever, I think, because I've got a nice mix of people from all over the world. I've got one of the girls in the front is from Russia, from Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, turkey. I've got a really cool mix of people, and everyone's doing our thing. And I think one of the big things was through the pandemic, I know a lot of places, they just basically, they couldn't afford to keep people, so they fired everybody, or they negotiated half pay, or a whole bunch of people doing different things. We kept everybody. We took the hit ourselves. We were hoping it wouldn't go that long. We took a pretty huge hit, actually, but I think that the staff really appreciated that. I have meetings with them, and I asked them, how they're feeling with the pandemic, just checking in on mental health and stuff. And they were like, hey, we feel great. Our life hasn't really changed. We're still getting our salary. We're safe. We're good. So that made me feel pretty good. And I think they appreciate it now. And definitely restaurants can get really busy and crazy and people get grumpy. But that's just the industry, right? I mean, yeah, it has to be busy for you to have the money to pay people. Yeah.
And without prying too much, I'm curious about your experience being a father through all of this work.
Sure. So my daughter, she grew up in the restaurant basically, which has helped her social skills like incredibly. I know a lot of kids are really. I grew up super shy, and if I didn't have to talk, I wouldn't. I'm just like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. But my daughter is super outgoing. As a kid, she would always be in the restaurant, and anytime any kids would come in with a family, she would go sit with them. She'd bring the kids' menu over and start coloring with kids. She would chat with them, and so she made tons of friends. And a lot of people would call the restaurant and say, hey, is Aaliyah there? And we're like, yeah. And they're just like, so reservation for 5, that's 2 kids. Yeah. So the kids want to come and see Aaliyah.
That's awesome.
So the kids come, they play, and she gets a chance to meet people from everywhere. So it's been really good.
What is the most difficult aspect of everything that you do?
When the restaurant, when the lockdown sort of thing ended, the restaurant started to get busy, and then busier and busier and busier. And so I was doing more, a lot of the stuff, again, cooking again, to be making beans and rice and editing videos, and then taking care of my daughter and taking her to school, and then finding podcast guests, and then, having an actual decent show, an entertaining show. But then when the show starts, it's like a big exhale. I've got my little stream deck there. I've got everything kind of rolling, and it's like, okay, how you doing? Good. I had a great week.
What are you most proud of?
I think the restaurant, you know what? I'm loving the podcast, but the restaurant is 15 years old, and to have gone through, ups and downs, lots of lows, even many times thinking, what, I'm just going to go back and teach because, it's easier. I have weekends off. I go back and coach. I can make some decent money. And then thinking, no, we're going to do this. We have the daughter. This will be cool if we can have a really cool business and she can be with us and we can actually grow something to the point where we're able to give it to her. I think that business part is the most thing I'm most proud of. My wife and I had zero experience with a business, and it's done pretty good. You could always be making a little more money, right? But that's life, I think. So, but yeah, I think it's cool connecting people and stuff like that. I'm pretty happy with the restaurant. I would say 1, and then the podcast 2, if we're not including family, of course. Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to say to people of Taiwan?
I would just like to say, if you guys want to get some Mexican food, come out to Eddy's Cantina. We try to serve all the popular dishes. If you guys have time, you're doing some kind of commute, listen to ICRT, obviously. But if you guys want to check out different interviews from different people doing cool things in Taiwan, go to eddy.live. That's eddy.live. We go live every Tuesday night. And you can actually, if you watch it live, you can comment and we'll answer your comments and stuff, questions. Yeah, we'll answer them live. And if you are somebody that would like to share your story, send me a PM or something and we'll figure it out. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Eddy, thanks for joining me in the studio today.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you to Eddy for coming into ICRT. Visit Eddy Live to see his interviews, or head on over to Eddy's Cantina in Tianmu for some great food. And finally, as I close out this episode, I'd like to remind everyone to join my co-host Ryan Drillsma in next week's episode. Stay safe out there, everybody. And until next time, I'm Trevor Tortomasi on ICRT FM 100.